The Children's Bible, Jeremiah 5 through 38. The Fall of Jerusalem. Some notes. During King Josiah's reign, another great Hebrew figure appeared as a prophet in Judah. This was Jeremiah, who, like Isaiah, was both an inspired spokesman for his God and a shrewd analyst of current affairs. Active under 5 kings of Judah, during a time when his country was always at the mercy of stronger powers, Jeremiah often advised compliance. This frequently put him at odds with Judah's leaders. In the last years of Josiah's rule, Nineveh, the Assyrian capital, fell to the forces of Babylon. Jeremiah saw the rise of this power in the east as an evil omen for Jerusalem and the kingdom of Judah. And now, the words of the Lord came to the prophet Jeremiah, saying, I will bring a nation upon you from far away, O house of Israel. It is a mighty nation, it is an ancient nation, a nation whose language you do not know nor understand. And they shall eat up your harvest and your bread, which your sons and daughters should eat. They shall eat up your flocks and your herds, they shall eat up your vines and your fig trees. And it shall come to pass, when you shall say, Why does the Lord our God do these things to us? That I shall answer, You have forsaken me and served strange gods in your land. Therefore shall you serve strangers in a land that is not yours. Hear now this, O foolish people, which have eyes and see not, which have ears and hear not. King Josiah was slain in battle at Megiddo, and his son Jehoahaz reigned in his place. But after 3 months he was deposed by Pharaoh, king of Egypt, who then made his brother Jehoiakim king. Now Pharaoh demanded tribute of 1,000 talents of silver and 1 talent of gold from the land of Judah. So Jehoiakim taxed the people to find the silver and gold to give to Pharaoh. He was 25 years old when he began to rule, and he did that which was evil in the sight of the Lord. During his reign, Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, came to Jerusalem, and Jehoiakim became his vassal. After 3 years he rebelled against him, but the Lord sent bands of Chaldees and Syrians and Moabites and bands of the children of Ammon against Judah as a punishment for former sins. Jehoiakim fought in vain against them until his death, when Jehoiakim, his son, ruled in his place. By now the king of Egypt had lost his power and remained behind his own frontiers, for the king of Babylon had taken possession of all his territory between the Nile and the Euphrates. Jehoiakim ruled for only 3 months. Then Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, came up to besiege Jerusalem, and Jehoiakim surrendered himself to Nebuchadnezzar with his mother and his servants, his princes and his officers. The king of Babylon took him prisoner, and he also took away all the treasures of the house of the Lord and the treasures of the king's house. And he cut in pieces all the vessels of gold which Solomon had made for the temple of the Lord. He carried away all the princes, 7,000 mighty men of valor, 1,000 craftsmen and blacksmiths, in all 10,000 captives. Only the poorest people were left in the country. Nebuchadnezzar took Jehoiakim away to Babylon, and Jehoiakim's mother and his wives and his officers, and all that were strong and likely warriors, all were taken to Babylon. And the king of Babylon made Mattaniah, uncle of Jehoiakim, king of Judah, in his place. And he changed Mattaniah's name to Zedekiah. Zedekiah was 21 years old when he began to rule, and he ruled 11 years in Jerusalem. And he did that which was evil in the sight of the Lord, according to all that was done by Jehoiakim. And it came to pass that Zedekiah rebelled against the king of Babylon. So in the 9th year of his reign, in the 10th month, in the 10th day of the month, Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, came with all his army, and laid siege against Jerusalem. Then Zedekiah the king sent 2 priests to Jeremiah the prophet, saying, Pray to the Lord our God for us. At that time Jeremiah was not in prison, as he often was, but was going freely among the people. Pharaoh's army had set out from Egypt, and when the Chaldeans heard of this, they departed from their siege of Jerusalem. The word of the Lord came to Jeremiah, saying, This you shall say to the king of Judah, Behold, Pharaoh's army, which has set out to help you, shall go back to Egypt, and the Chaldeans shall come again and attack this city and burn it down. Do not deceive yourselves, says the Lord, or tell yourselves that the Chaldeans shall go away again, for they shall not depart. Even if you were to defeat the whole Chaldean army, and there were none left but wounded men, still would each one of them rise in his tent and burn this city with fire. But some of the nobles, hearing what Jeremiah had told the king, that the city was going to fall into the hands of Babylon, went to the king and said, We entreat you to allow us to put this man to death, for by his words he is sapping the fighting spirit of the people. He is in your power, Zedekiah said. The king can do nothing without your will. So they took Jeremiah and threw him into the dungeon of Micaiah, the son of Hamelech, which was a cistern in the court of the prison. They let Jeremiah down with cords into the underground dungeon. There was no water in it, only mud, and Jeremiah sank in the mud. Now Abed-melech, the Ethiopian, who was one of the king's slaves, heard what had happened to Jeremiah. And he spoke to the king, who was sitting in judgment at the gate of Benjamin. He said, My lord king, these men have done wrong in casting Jeremiah the prophet into the dungeon. He will die from hunger there, for there is no more bread in the city. So the king told Ebed-melech the Ethiopian to take 30 men and rescue Jeremiah from the dungeon before he starved to death. Ebed-melech took the men and collected some old rags and scraps of material, and set them down by ropes into the dungeon. Then he called Jeremiah, saying, Put these rags under your armpits to protect you from the rope. Jeremiah did so, and they pulled him up out of the muddy cistern, and he was sent back into a better prison. King Zedekiah sent for him again, and bade him come to the entrance of the temple. One thing I will ask you, said the king. Hide nothing from me. But if I tell you the truth, said Jeremiah, will you not have me put to death? And if I give you advice, will you not disregard it? Then King Zedekiah swore a secret oath to Jeremiah and said, As the Lord our Creator lives, I will not have you put to death, nor will I hand you over to the men who want to kill you. Jeremiah the prophet answered King Zedekiah and said, Thus says the Lord, the God of hosts, the God of Israel, If you will go forth to the officers of the king of Babylon, your life will be spared. This city will not be destroyed by fire, and you and your family will survive. But if you will not go forth to the king of Babylon's officers, then this city will be given into the power of the Chaldeans, and they will burn it to the ground, and you will not escape out of their hand. I am afraid of the Jews who have gone over to Babylon, said King Zedekiah. If I surrender, the Chaldeans may hand me over to them, and they will ill-treat me. They will not hand you over to the Jews, Jeremiah said. I beg of you to obey the voice of the Lord, for then all will be well with you, and your life will be spared. If you do not, all your wives and children will be taken by the Babylonians. Because of you, the city will be burnt with fire. And King Zedekiah said to Jeremiah, Tell no man about this talk of ours, and you shall not die. If the nobles hear that I have been talking with you, and question you with threats, tell them that you came to plead with me, not to be sent back to the dungeon. The nobles did come, and did ask Jeremiah what he and the king had said, and Jeremiah answered as the king had told him. So nobody knew what had been said between them, and nothing more was done about it. Jeremiah remained in the prison until the day that Jerusalem fell. He was there when Jerusalem was taken.